Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for Bitcoin. Now, this is from my last video. My last update was on Thursday. Just wanted to give you an update on the trade I ended up taking. Ended up getting the high of the diagonal. Took the short, was looking for much further downside than we had currently here. Had this as a potential W wave, looking for a sideways X and further downside for our Y. Although I didn't want to give back any profit, so I rode the 66% retracement of the move to the downside. Ended up getting stopped out on that at $770 profit. So whenever a trade starts to go my way, that's my tendency, if there's an unclear account, to ride the 66%, just on the other side there of the golden zone. So ended up getting, that's how you turn a loser into a winner, right? I'm not upset that I lost that trade. Now I am in a scalp here. Ended up taking the micro triangle to the upside breakout. I'm looking to take profit right now at 68,050, front running the 618 extension. But this isn't anything I put in the video. This is more of a scalp I'm just taking myself. Same thing, price going our way. I put my stop at the last pivot there. So guaranteed. There we go. I ended up just closing out. Position history. Locked up $1,000 on that one. So anyways, let's go over the smaller time frames here and talk about what I'm tracking. I'm going to give you my two bullish scenarios currently. And that is that this is our larger fourth wave on the macro view. We have a zigzag X and we ended in a triangle. This is the most bullish scenario, which is my primary currently. And that's off the fourth wave low. We have to start it from here at 57,493. Have a wave 1 and 2 and a smaller 1 and 2 of one lesser degree, which is nested 1-2s. Now for our wave 2, we expect between the 50 and the 786 is our most common area for a wave 2 to correct to. You can see we're not even close to that area. However, in extremely bullish scenarios, we actually just hit the 382, which we did hit. So if this correction moves more to the upside, I'll explain what I'm going to be looking for to get back into the market. But there is still a lot that can happen in this area where this can turn bearish, and I'll show you how that will map out. But as of right now, I also like to see between the 618 and the 1-to-1 in time of this second wave 1 for our low, which we don't have. That's this area here. That's where I want a low to be, in that zone. Not a rule, but a guideline, but always try to have the right look along with a completed wave count to get probabilities on our side, right? So that is our most bullish scenario, and I'll show you that correction I'm expecting to pan out. I mentioned last video. Let me see if I can find that. Where was that? Yep, I mentioned that scenario. This one. This is what we're considering here, panning out here on the smaller time frames. This is from last video. We're looking for potentially a running flat, which is a 3. We get our X wave 3 as a W or an A. We get our B or our X. That will reach at least the 90% retracement of this move to the downside. And then we get our C wave or Y. In a Y, we'll get a zigzag. In a C wave, we should get 5 waves down. So we're looking for this sort of scenario in the most bullish scenario. And that's where we'll look for our wave 3 as a running flat. And we'd look to protect this A wave. Now we can also get an expanded flat, which means we just don't protect this A wave and we scoop the liquidity under that before we move to the upside. It's important to note these are both bullish scenarios. It's just from which pivot we're bullish, right? So right now this is a 3-wave move. I didn't think it was complete because of the amount of time that has passed to correct this entire wave, which does not appear to be enough. So down on the 1 hour, remember, we've reached the 382. That's the minimum I would expect for a running flat. And I mentioned if this turns into a 3-wave move or a 5-wave move, how to play that in last video. This looks like a double zigzag, ABCX, ABC. So to me, that is an A wave or a W. I haven't measured this one yet. I believe we hit 90%. Looks like it. Yep, we hit 90% retracement. So this can turn into an ABC rather than a WXY to the upside. It's important to note that we're looking for a matching wave to this one currently. Whether it's from here or one more down and then we get it, unclear. But we're looking for a matching leg here for the A, for the C, or the Y. And after that completes, then we're looking for the 5 or 3 waves to match this leg before we move to the upside. And that'll complete our larger correction. So it's waveception, waves within waves, right? Now, the reason I took this long here, that's the one I showed you that just closed literally right now, is I saw this as a potential triangle, A, B, C, D, E. I ended up taking the breakout here with stop right here. That was my original trade setup. But if I had seen this triangle play out, I could have gotten an even tighter stop where the entry could have been there, stop could have been there. So that's how I could have actually ended up making more. But I was targeting only the 618 extension here, which we just ran through. That's why I closed. And I'll explain to you why, even though I'm expecting us to go higher. There is the opportunity here that this turns into a triangle. A, B, C, D, E. This is what I'm concerned about and why I took profit where I did there on that long. W, X, Y. This is what I'm worried about. So we get a zigzag for our W, triangle X, zigzag Y, then we look for upside. So this is one I'll be interested in taking a short on if we actually get these waves complete, right? So I'm waiting for this E wave. And if we get this E wave as the market comes to me, I will get triggered in below this B wave within the E wave, ABC. Stop will go at the C wave high. So my short position, if this plays out, will end up being like this. And wherever that X wave is, I'll be targeting between the 618 and the 1-to-1 extension, depending on the wave count as we come down. As of right now, if we got a 1-to-1 extension, roughly where I'm drawing here, would be about 63.5, right into our box. Looking for a 3-wave move, double zigzag, X wave as a triangle. So that would be ideal for my long after that, but I'll have a video up before then. So that's how we move to the downside from exactly this price point. Other thing to note is that can happen to the other side too, right? This is why we have to watch it in real time. This could be a W wave, right? And we could get a triangle actually to the upside, A, B, C, D, E, right? And you just play that the exact same, but to the upside. Long on the break of the B, stop at the low, off you go to the upside, right? Targeting the 1-to-1 of this wave here, right, like that, and then looking for the short. So we're going to see how this pans out. Obviously, I have to chart watch to make sure I take advantage of this. But it's important to note to the upside that we want to reach the 90% for this to end up being a flat, which is up at 69,081 on log scale. 69,000, so the closer of the two. 69,081.35, in which case if we drag up here, then we can get our 5-wave move down, and this can become a flat as an ABC. Hopefully this is simple and not overcomplicating. I know there's a lot to Elliott wave. You just have to be aware of all the pivot areas and how the patterns can change. It's great practice to do in real time. Also important to note, the most common in a running flat is up between the 1.236 and 1.382 for our B wave. So this can continue to the upside, just dragging up correctively, and then we can get our 5th wave move up to that area. Now, if we break above the 1.618, that's where it's likely that our bull market is continuing. So based on the wave count up there, I might want to adjust my count in real time. But that would only happen, honestly, if this turned into some sort of diagonal here. And then I'd look to enter over in this area after the diagonal. And that would be a third nested 1-2, because this is a double zigzag to begin with. It's not impulsive. Okay. So basically that's what I'm looking for. Either a triangle, finish, look to move to the downside, 1-1, and then flip long. Triangle to the upside, then take this short for the B, for the C wave down. But either way, bullish overall, just not yet. That's the important thing. Not from this exact pivot. I am not bullish from this pivot. It's important to note we cannot get a triangle here to the upside. That actually creates a third wave. You cannot have a triangle wave 2. Triangles can only be in fourth waves in the impulse or in a combination. We can get a WX with a Y triangle, which appears as a triangle shape, but this isn't what's going on here. It doesn't fit those bases right now. Okay, so what's our other count? That is my primary. That was my primary, the bullish scenario, which I think we're getting. My other bullish scenario is we've completed a diagonal in 5 waves, 3 wave patterns, and we're moving deeper between 52,808 and 59,259. That's the common area between the 50 and the 786 of a diagonal to correct to. Remember, we're making a 3-wave move to correct this entire move to the upside. In this scenario, I would expect that triangle or flat to play out, where we get a W wave or an A wave as a flat 3-wave pattern here. And we look for our higher B wave and our C wave to the downside. This would drag out in time, and I'd be looking for the exact same setups I just discussed to the downside, like a triangle or a 1-to-1 extension, then move to the downside. But this would most likely become something more corrective, more of a WXY than an ABC based on this 3-wave move to begin with. But we'll discuss that in future videos. Okay, so I think that is it. That's all I wanted to cover in this area. I'm not tracking anything other seriously, except this scenario where the diagonal is actually halfway through. We discussed this one. I don't think this one is high probability though. That would be where we have an A wave, we're making a B wave. This is where a triangle can play out. And we can move up to the C wave up to around 78,438. But this is where I discussed if we don't make a B wave here, remember invalidation of a B wave in a running flat is the 1.618 extension. So we'd put on our B and X zone, the 1.618 extension here. So past around 72,131-ish area is where I look at the wave count, see if it is bullish, like we can see impulsive non-overlapping waves, and I might just trigger long from that area above that price and figure out which pivot to put my stop at. But that would be one I would most likely miss if we're taking this, if we're tracking this scenario. All right, so looking for this one as my secondary. That would just drag out longer in time and price. And the most bullish right here. This is where we either make that triangle B, come down to this area, or we move up here, make a running flat, then continue. One of those two corrections I'm looking for before upside. But it's exciting. It should be coming soon, right? Probably near election time or just previous to. But we'll see what ends up happening here. All right, guys, so that's it for Bitcoin. I hope this wasn't too complicating. If you do have questions about it, let me know in the description below. But I understand in real time, Elliott Wave can be difficult to find trade setups. That's why I go in detail on these things. It's an if this, then that. People come on these videos and they expect you to know exactly what's going to happen. I can tell you, I do not know what's going to happen, but if this triangle plays out, this is how I take the trade. If the running flat plays out, this is how I take the trade, right? I'm not in a trade right now till one of those two things happen. I will say this is not unlikely to be complete at this moment. It's unlikely to take off on us at this moment. We're not likely complete a correction at this moment. So we track and we watch. When the trade setup becomes available, we act, and that's it. We look for the best risk reward we can find based on that information, and we repeat. These patterns repeat all of the time, and we repeat every single time they become available. All right, guys, so that's it for Bitcoin. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.